And the fact is, when I look back at that video 1,000 times, and I love Kenny Rosenthal, he's a friend of mine, he's been on my show 1,000,000 times the last couple of years. To me, this had nothing to do with Ibanez. To me, this is, hey, I'm Ken Rosenthal, I'm on TV, I'm a big-time writer, I'm John Garcia, what's his name?
John Gonzalez.
John Gonzalez, I'm a writer in Philadelphia, and you're just some schmuck sitting in your mother's basement somewhere writing blogs. To me, it was the disrespect issue. Buzz Bissinger talked about this on Bob Costas' show on HBO. To me, it was, you're not credible, you're some jerk out there who's got an axe to grind. That's what I got from this video. It had nothing to do with Raul Ibanez.
No, I certainly got elements of that as well, obviously. And the surprising part about that is, for instance, when Ken Rosenthal asked the question, how did we get here? I kind of wish I'd been on my toes a little bit more and asked him, well, when Rick Riley, for instance, called out Sammy Sosa in the back of Sports Illustrated without Sosa ever having tested or being explicitly linked, how did we get there? I guess the frustrating thing has been some of the hypocrisy that, this gets lumped on bloggers like we're just out there throwing out all this irresponsible speculation when, at the end of the day, I think most of the speculation has been extremely fair, is warranted, and it's done by mainstream media members all the time, But
I agree. I agree with you, and I'm telling you.
Go ahead, sorry.
No, I agree with you. And as a baseball fan, I don't feel like if you throw a name out there, you're being unfair. This is the era. Again, every big-time player outside of Albert Pujols and Ken Griffey Jr., from McGuire to Sosa to Aaron to Manny, goes on, has been guilty with this thing. So I don't know where all of a sudden the sanctity lies out there with some of these writers and some of these baseball guys. Again, are they more visceral because they're afraid that their game is crumbling right before their eyes? Or was the reaction so visceral because you're just a blogger?
Yeah, I think it has a lot more to do with some of the underlying issues that still remain between the mainstream media and bloggers. And I suppose, one of the things that's kind of disheartened me about this whole situation is, I've tried to, some of the people who had the most, scathing remarks about my post, my appearance on Outside the Lines, I've tried to reach out to them and, open up a dialogue. Hey, let's talk about this. You have, I disagree with you on some points, but you have some valid points on, how we can kind of, coexist better between bloggers and the mainstream media, and have pretty much received no response. And it just makes me, believe that, a lot of people, and not all, but a lot of, mainstream media members are more kind of digging their heels in and, don't want to come to common ground, don't want to have a dialogue, out of, fear, I guess, is really the only thing that I can attribute it to.
Well, not just fear, but if they get back to you, then they're giving you, in other words, you're credible at that point. If they just ignore you, then you're a nobody. Once they have a dialogue with you, then they're giving you credibility. Look, I read Deadspin. I read Sports by Brooks. I read The Big Lead. Do I think a lot of this stuff is nonsense? 1,000%. A lot of it is absolute nonsense. But every once in a while, do I read something that I think is really good or intriguing? Absolutely. It's no different than reading a couple of columnists in the papers all over the country. What these guys have to understand is take what you want, get rid of what you want. That's the beauty of America, are choices and options. And quite frankly, at least in this specific case, in your case, I read your thing over and over again. You did nothing wrong. Nothing wrong.
I obviously agree. And I think from a blogger's perspective, one of the writers who writes for our site posted something this weekend that I thought was a good point. He said as blogs start to look more like mainstream sites, are designed, more like them, I think there is a little bit of an onus on bloggers to be responsible, to be accountable for their words. I have no problem with that. But I guess at the same time, in addition to being accountable, being responsible, there's got to be some sort of acceptance, and attribute. What really frustrates me is when a blogger writes a post and it's thought-provoking, it stirs up, controversy, whatever you think of that controversy, and then it's cited on a mainstream site, and it's, well, I don't want to give a link or say this person's name, lest I give them credence or I don't know. It just speaks of hypocrisy because you're using it to drive traffic and make your own point, but you're not willing to give credit to to the source of the article.
Right. No, it is hypocritical. So on the way out here, 30 seconds to go. Let's say you're back on Outside the Lines right now. I'm John Gonzalez. You didn't say this to John Gonzalez last time. Now I'm John Gonzalez. You can say it to me now. What do you want to say to John Gonzalez?
I would just say to John Gonzalez that, I think, what I wrote in my Raul Ibanez post was mischaracterized. I think that, the fact that my initial hypothesis was genuine and wanting to disprove it, did not come out, and it was characterized more as an accusation. And I think that characterization is what snowballed and led to this entire, controversy that in so many ways was unnecessary.
See, I was hoping you were going to say, I would just say F you, but.
Well, I think what I've tried to do and what I hope we can do is, try to have more of an open and honest dialogue that doesn't have quite so much vitriol and has a little bit more constructiveness to it, so that we can actually start to look at some of these issues. So, because the train's left the station. I mean, blogs are here. The mainstream media is going to have to deal with it, and I think there's definitely some ways that we can all work together better that just haven't happened yet.
Agreed. Welcome to 2009, everybody. Jerod, terrific job again. I thought they lumped on you and jumped on you, and I actually thought Steve Bunin did a nice job trying to protect you there. But in the end, Midwest Sports, he did a nice job, yes. MidwestSportsFans.com. You could also follow at Twitter.com/JerodMSF. Jerod, thank you very much, and keep up the good work, pal.
Thank you very much for having me on, Sid. I appreciate it.
You got it, bro. That's going to do it for this edition of Insurance Runs, brought to you by our good friends at State Farm. Again, folks, I'm your host, Sid Rosenberg. Be sure to come back on Wednesday for Fantasy Whiplash with Tom Herrera of AOL Fan House. Until then, we'll see you.
The future of sports on the web is open.